We're getting closer and closer to the NFL draft, but before we get there, we got to continue to talk about these teams. On today's episode, we're talking about the Miami Dolphins. How can they shore up that O-line after Terron Armstead retired on them? How can the Indianapolis Colts improve and continue to reshape their roster? And the Atlanta Falcons, how can they make sure that defense is good enough for that young quarterback, Michael Penix? Y'all know we're going to talk about it all on today's episode, but you gotta hear the music first.
Welcome to your number one spot for all NFL news and content, NFL Central.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back into another episode of NFL Central, your number one spot for everything NFL. I'm your host here for today's episode, Bobby. So if you're tuned in with me, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well, man. But hey, in that draft order, we starting things off with the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins had another disappointing season after, a lot of talk and a lot of expectations with that team for them pretty much trying to make a recovery and bounce back and potentially make it further in the playoffs. But a bunch of injuries happened to the team. A lot of things went wrong. You had my man's Cheetah crashing out. You had a lot of questions with your quarterback this past season. But, hey, we got to move on, right? Now we got to see how this team and the Miami Dolphins can go ahead and to continue to try to push the envelope to where we can see them perform better during the regular season and then potentially push themselves on a nice little run in the playoffs. It's going to be very, very tough for the Miami Dolphins, in my opinion, being in that AFC East with the Buffalo Bills, who's going to continue to dominate the division. But now you got teams like the New England Patriots, who pretty much reshaped and, in my opinion, leapfrogged them for being the second best team in that division this upcoming season. And they're going to have to figure some things out. Some of the moves that they made, though, they signed guys like linebacker Willie Gay, cornerback Artis Burns, picked up Zach Wilson. Don't necessarily know how that's going to work out for them. This is a young fella who spent some time in Denver last season, being over there and around a winning coach like Sean Payton. Maybe you do some wonders for him, and maybe it could be a little reassurance to help with the team if something happens to Tua. We're not hoping anything happens to Tua, but the track record says you got to be a little cautious when you're talking about Tua Tagovailoa. And then they went up there and they tried to improve their offensive line. They went out there and signed guard James Daniels, and then lineman Larry Borum, who is a former Chicago Bear. So I say good luck. Maybe with a little better coaching, maybe with a little less of a role, you might be able to utilize the young fella. We shall see. But then they got some crazy news out of left field. It was crazy. Terron Armstead said, "The hell with this, I'm gone. It's time to retire at 33 years old." That could have potentially been another year or two for Terron Armstead to go out there and play. But throughout his career these last few years, he's dealt with his fair share of injuries as well. But still was a very serviceable starter for the team. Hence why I'm trying to see what else they're going to do. I think with where they currently sit in the draft, you go out and you try to go out there and reshape a brick wall for Tua Tagovailoa to stand behind so he can be as healthy as possible, because they are a better team with Tua back there. So for me, if I'm the Miami Dolphins in this year's draft, yeah, we got to go out there and pick Kelvin Banks Jr. I think that'll be a good fit for them. It's a guy that played left tackle. It's a guy that has good hands and definitely still needs some coaching up, and so he can develop to be a long-term starter in this league. But I think that'll be the perfect marriage for the Miami Dolphins and Kelvin Banks Jr. out of Texas. You go get this guy. He's strong in the run game. He does need a little bit of work in this with holding up that pass rush. But I still think this is a very, very talented young prospect that the Miami Dolphins could very well use on the team. Even if Terron Armstead was still not retired, I still feel like the Miami Dolphins should be trying to build out a brick wall for Tua. You got to build out the brick wall You know that he's a guy that thrives at getting the ball out of his hands quickly. And it's a lot of short yardage stuff, which is, the way that they're coaching him up over there. So I say, you get some guys that can hold, excuse me, you get a guy that you can utilize correctly in Kelvin Banks Jr. And I say, he might be all right for the squad. So go ahead and check that out for sure. Now I want to talk about the Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts playing the AFC South. Hey, it ain't too much action going on in the AFC South right now. That's why I think the Colts, they trying to shake some stuff up. They started their offseason by bringing in Daniel Jones, Khalil Herbert, that's a running back, safety Cameron Bynum, and they signed cornerback Charvarius Ward, which I think are some really good signings for him. I think my thoughts on the whole Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson stuff, it was time. Yeah, I think that was a strong move. A lot of people are not going to be on or feeling Daniel Jones is going to be a guy that's going to come out here and push the envelope and be a starter for years and years and years to come. But I say he was one of the perfect candidates to bring in your locker room and try to get Anthony Richardson to finally be a damn competent quarterback. Just call it how you see it. You don't have to go through the numbers. You can see that Anthony Richardson held the team back. And I ain't saying that Daniel Jones is the perfect solution, but it was definitely a solid signing to bring him in on a one-year deal. He was a starter in this league. He does has his fair share of problems, but hey, if you telling me to compare Anthony Richardson to Daniel Jones, give me Daniel Jones. It sounds crazy, but if you're talking about just those two quarterbacks and saying which one would you rather have, I'd rather have Daniel Jones, unless Anthony Richardson can show me that he can make the easy layup passes. You literally have wide receivers blaring up the sideline wide open. He's missing the guys, moving off the guys that's open, or he just simply missing them because the accuracy has been an issue for him. Things like that. So I say for them, that was a good move for the Indianapolis Colts. But with this draft, I say you got to go out there and continue to shore up your defense. So why not go out there and get you a safety who's a playmaker, who's a ball hawk, who's athletic as ever, and Nick Amawore. I probably butchered the last name. My bad, young man. But out of South Carolina, this kid can play. 88 total tackles for the season, for the Gamecocks last season. 3 tackles for loss and 4 interceptions. You don't just 4 interceptions just don't fall in your lap as a safety. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to put the work in and be able to, keep things in front. And then when you sense opportunity, you go take care of that opportunity. So I think this would be a good sign for them. We know last season they picked up Leatu Latu out of UCLA, which was a hell of a draft selection for them. And I thought it was the perfect match for them too, because that young man had the moves. He's a hell of a pass rush, and I think he's just going to get better and better throughout his career. And I say, you got you a safety in Bynum, you got you a corner in Ward. Go ahead and get you another safety so you can round out that defensive backfield. And then you might be a little on to something. Because I think they got plenty of weapons on the offensive side. And at this point where you're drafting at in this year's draft, you should be able to go out there and get a young safety to where he can come in. You can coach him up. And then he's going to be surrounded by some veteran guys and a really good cornerback in Charvarius Ward. And you see what happens. Y'all let me know how y'all feeling about that draft selection when it comes to the Colts. Now, the last team that we're talking about on today's episode is the Atlanta Falcons. How do they go out there and continue to shore up that defense? They got weapons on the offensive side too. And Michael Penix, through his little small sample size, he looked like he could be the quarterback of the future for the Atlanta Falcons. They still got Kirk Cousins over there. It's a bit weird. His conversations and things like that with Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix out there, and how Kirk Cousins is feeling, and if Kirk Cousins might be moving on to another situation. Cleveland is the team that's being thrown around there. I don't necessarily know what's going to happen with that, but I say you got weapons galore. So how do you help this young quarterback? You got to get it done on the defense. Now, I will say this offseason, they made some solid signings. They went out there and got defensive end Leonard Floyd. I thought that was a really good signing. Then they re-signed some of their own guys in the trenches, and Elijah Wilkinson and Kyle Hinton. Now, they did lose Drew Dalman to the Chicago Bears, but I don't think at that position where you're drafting that in the first round, you go out there and you go and select a center that early. I think you can wait a little bit for that. They did sign a safety in Jordan Fuller and another defensive tackle. They signed defensive linemen and Taquan Graham, Catavia Street, and Morgan Fox. I think those are all good additions. Obviously, some guys, may have to do a little bit more than others or prove themselves. But I feel like at this point where you're at, to continue to shore up this defense, you go get a guy with the versatility of a Jalen Walker out of Georgia. This is a guy that lines up at inside linebacker. So if you feel like he's going to be good for you there, you utilize him there. He's a bit undersized and needs to work as a rusher, but he has lined up on the edge as well. This is a linebacker, great closing speed. You know what I'm saying? Last year with Georgia, 60 total tackles, 11 tackles for loss. 11 tackles for loss. This young man plays with a lot of ferocity. He plays with a lot of aggression. And he has good instincts to where he can, if you need him to be that linebacker that you want him to be, he can very well fill the void and be able to handle business. And if you send him on a blitz, he got enough moves, enough power, enough speed to where he going to be able to get the quarterback on the ground or just simply blow up the plate to allow the teammates to thrive. 6.5 sacks this past season for Georgia. Not too shabby. I ain't going to hold you, especially with a guy that comes in with some versatility like that. That gives the Atlanta Falcons a lot of options to utilize that young player and utilize his skills in a multitude of ways. You can move either way with it. You'll be able to set yourself up for success. So for those people that just kind of need a recap, we got the Miami Heat. Miami Heat. Oh my goodness, I'm switching sports. The Miami Dolphins. I got them taking Kelvin Banks Jr. The Colts getting safety Nick Amawade out of South Carolina. I know I'm probably butchering the last name. My apologies on that. And the Atlanta Falcons. Go out there and shore up this defense. You got weapons on the offensive side, but on your first round selection, my guy, you can wait a little bit to go get that center, but you could definitely go out there and get you a linebacker with some edge versatility and Jalen Walker. You know what I'm saying? So that'll be good for them, especially where you're at. You got the Miami Heat. They right now, stop saying Miami Heat, Bobby. The Miami Dolphins pick it at 13, the Colts at 14, and Atlanta at 15. So I think that'll be good for them. And you go out there and you constantly get some guys that's going to be able to give you some versatility out there in coverage. Definitely some support up there with stopping the run. And if you need to send them on a blitz or you need to line them up and say, go get the quarterback on the ground, we need you. Jalen Walker can be a good selection for the Atlanta Falcons. But hey, that is it for me today, y'all. Just want to come in and give y'all this quick content. Let me know how y'all feeling about it. Drop all your thoughts and everything down below. Hit the like button and subscribe. We on our way to that 500 sub count. We need y'all help. Go ahead and do it. Let us know how y'all feeling. More content will be on the way. Y'all know the schedule as of right now is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But as we get closer and closer to this draft, we going to start picking it up. I ain't going to lie to you. We going to be right here rocking and rolling, ready to break it all down. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.